welcome to another episode of the Best Book Club. I'm your host, New Fatura, and this is the podcast where I discuss the best stories with the best minds in the community. On this episode, I'll be discussing creators leaving the community. With me, I have Like a Boss Jack. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's been quite a while, so it's nice to be able to chat with you again on another sort of broad idea or topic.
Yep, happy to be here. And yes, it has been has been quite a while.
Yeah.
Time
So
flies.
yeah, but we're coming back for yet another fantastic episode, and really diving right into this topic. It's unfortunately way more common than I think any of us would like it to be. And I'm curious if you've noticed any factors that have contributed to this, like things that people commonly cite as reasons for leaving.
Hmm. Mhm. Yeah, off the top of my head, after throwing out the idea of this for this episode and looking into it a bit, I remembered that I think off the top of my head, the most like common stuff I'd always see people citing on like DA, uh, you know, over the past few years is usually like anytime there's a big like milestone kind of thing. I'd say is like how I'd group it together. Someone's like, oh, they're going off to college, or oh, they've graduated and now they're starting a full-time thing, or what have you. Usually that's sort of a marking point where people would throw out like, oh, hey guys, I think I'm going to be moseying on out, or moving on. At least if they, at least for the people that have said it outright,
Hmm.
not counting people that just sort of don't show up one day and that's that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say it like that, where it kind of makes me think that the community is sort of then filling a sort of positive role in our lives, and then as soon as we get something that is really positive, like you get married or you start a family, you go to college or that kind of thing, um, then it sort of seems to be the case that there's not really room left in your life for the community and this fetish. And yet, I think there are other people like Hans, uh, as commonly said that when he was first starting college, university, um, he got way more into the community, and that was when he first wrote his biggest stories, Lucy and Danielle
Mm,
and YWNR. So I'm it's just a weird thing to think like how it seems to be the case that a lot of people share reasons for leaving. Um, but I guess in a way it's at least a good thing that you've seen that people are leaving for positive reasons. Whereas like the one of two of the most common things that I've two of the most common reasons that I've seen people end up leaving are that like they feel ashamed for having this fetish and there's life getting too busy. Um, and that's definitely much more negative versus the
mm,
positives that you've seen. So I
mm.
wonder if there really is a I guess really do you think it's okay to be present and part of this community for your whole life, or do you think it's better to move on at a certain point and so like you sort of like there's a limit where you sort of grow out of it?
Mm. Okay, oh, I'd say it's definitely the kind of thing where, like, so since the bulk of people that make stuff, it's that creative endeavor kind of thing. There is like a sweet spot of, okay, is this something that's like, oh, coming up with all sorts of ideas, and getting them down in stories or art. And if that's the case, then that's like the perfect time to for someone to be creating stuff. But if in that case, having to worry about other things or losing that creative mojo kind of thing, and they don't have that same I want to be making stuff like I've always been making, then at that point, like in my mind, if it's not there, you know if it's not something you can get fired up about just from the fact of, I really like doing this, then you sort of, what do you call it, sort of dragging along like a ball and chain or something of, I need to do this even if it's
Hmm.
not, you know they're not feeling it anymore.
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. It's, yeah, sort of that the people can just get tired of creating content or just being part of the community. That's interesting. I never thought of that before.
Hmm.
Hmm. And so, like with like meeting somebody, and sort of expanding your life and relationships, really. I know, like Hans, at one point, when he posted just like a wedgie, he said at the end of it in the little description that he had been in a relationship and he sort of moved away from the community for a while he was in it, and then for a little while after it ended. Do you think there can be some kind of actual balance between having, I guess, IRL relationships and this community, or just really any sort of online community, especially a
Mm.
sexual one?
Yeah, I think there can definitely be that's definitely something that I think can be done. It's just sort of a matter of, like, when it comes down to it, that would be, if someone's in a relationship, are, is there, what do you call it? I always like to think, communication is very good. If you're having to hide something, then it's like, okay, that's putting something on you having to hide it. And then down the line, if there was a genuine reason to hide it, that can hurt, a relationship later because, um, but I think if in that context, like, if someone's like, hey, they're having a relationship and it's the other person like knows about, you're writing in this on this stuff and this is the kind of thing you're writing, and they're like, yeah, that's chill, that's there's nothing wrong with that, then I don't see why there couldn't be, it's not putting a strain on anything despite its sort of like sexual nature at times.
Hmm. And I guess it would come down to sort of how important this community is to people, whether they would even feel comfortable sharing it with their partners, um, and keep making them aware of how involved or active they are in it. Uh,
Hmm.
how there was something, but whatever. I the biggest creators I can think of who have officially left, like the ones who have sort of gave like a sort, I guess, a sort of a 2 weeks notice, if you will, um, are Between Two Cheeks, Bloom 225, and Magni Pulls.
Hmm.
Are there any
Hmm.
other ones that you can think of who have left?
Uh, Let me think off the top of my head. I I'm looking down at my notes, and you've named two of the names I had written down. I'm like, oh man, already on top of it, between two cheeks and bloom. I'm like, those are
Yeah.
the main ones that always spring to mind. Um,
Mhm.
Let me think. There was I feel bad forgetting the name, but it was the what was it? He got in. No wait, that person actually came back. They got like engaged, and they wrote the story about like the blacksmith, the blacksmith's daughter, I think was the name of it,
Mm.
and I'm blanking on their name,
Yeah, I'm
but
not
I
sure.
don't know if they like fully left or if
Okay.
they're still around and about. And it was just one of those things of like, hey, might be leaving, but then that never fully. Um, let me see. Yeah, but off the top of my head, those three that you listed are like the go-to ones that just sort of spring to mind.
Hmm. Yeah, they seem to be sort of three of the most common names. Like uh, this just sad this person left, or um, it's there are definitely more people. I just can't think of any right or off the
Mhm.
top of my head.
I oh, real quick as an aside, um, enigmatic systematic was the guy I was thinking of, but I think
Oh,
he's
yeah,
still kicking around.
he's still pretty active. Not too long ago, I did an episode with him, and he's
Hmm.
wonderful, very well eloquent, very well spoken. So it was
Hmm. Nice, nice. Damn, need to catch up on all the
good.
episodes. It has been a really long time. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah, you were number 9, and now
oh, now
you'll
what number
be
are we at?
yeah, now you'll be let's see. Yeah, now you'll be number 41.
Oh
Oh,
man,
Jesus.
32. That's oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Yeah,
lot of time has passed. But
but yeah, but I
that's
pulling it in from Jack just being unable to comprehend the passage of time. Uh, yeah, between two cheeks and bloom, Magni pulls.
mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, it seems to be the case that more creators end up not saying anything, and I wonder if there's a reason for that instead of sending out an announcement like just a status update say, "Hey,
Mm,
I'm gonna be gone." I wonder if there is a reason for that.
mm, mhm. Uh, yeah, I I don't have hard numbers on it because it would have required a lot of manually looking into things. But in my mind, I think there'd be like a what do you call it, like a correlation of how how much interaction does a writer have in the community part of the community of like they're talking to people, answering comments or stuff, or active in the Discord, which you know talking of time, if I go way back, there was a time when it was like, hey, oh, you're on DA, and someone's like, hey, I'm leaving. You know,
Hmm.
that just meant, oh, they're 100% gone because this is
Right.
like, for some people that was the only website they used if they were making stuff. Nowadays, you've got, oh, I'm leaving, like, i.e., I'm not making anything, but I'm probably in a Discord somewhere
Hmm.
that, since there's a few of them kicking around, they're like
Hmm.
sort of gathering hubs where people, you don't need to be you don't have to have that excuse of like, oh, I'm a creator and posting stuff to my page. It's just, oh, I'm just here in this chat room.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. So it sounds sort of sounds like the definition of people leaving the community has changed. I mean, I think of
Mm,
like all of the creators from Lucky Fetish who I have no idea if they even moved over to DA or not, um, or anywhere else. And I just never hear of them from them ever again. We never see anything from them ever again. Versus now, that's definitely seems to be the case. Kind of people don't really leave fully, but they stop producing content.
hmm Yeah, yeah. I definitely know of a few, not off the top of my head, but I know like in the back of my mind that'll come to me later, or once I look at my watch list from ages ago, people that left in the old day of, oh, here's you know before Discord, people on DA, oh, I'm leaving by, and they're just gone for good,
Hmm.
versus, oh, I'm leaving, and I sort of, in a server, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that person?
Hmm.
They're like, oh man, they're referring to stuff like that's them, huh? And
Yeah.
yeah, definitely changed over time. Yeah.
Yeah, you can sort of stay in contact with the creators instead of everything is
Hmm.
cut and there's no way to communicate with them anymore. Because it really is
Yeah. Yeah.
that the so many of these people probably all of them really are just fun people to talk to and hang out with, but beyond the fact that they're creating content. So it seems I maybe I'm way off, but at least from my perspective, there has does seem to have been a shift into just sort of caring about the creator rather than just their work.
Mm, mhm. I can sorry, stuttering. I can see that, especially with you know, like again, I keep comparing DA and Discord, but like just the medium of something where again, like DA is, hey, here's a post and it's at the top of everyone's, oh, I'm a watcher, it's at the top of my feed. Hey, love this. It's amazing. And you might exchange some stuff back and forth, but then it sort of drifts off, like, oh, I favorited it, and oh, let me get this out of my watch bin because I want to see the new stuff. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have that back and forth. Like DA's message system, their note system is god awful, last I checked, and I've had no desire to keep checking to see if it's ever improved.
It's
um,
okay. It's nothing to write home
so
about.
yeah, and the whereas Discord, its entire thing is, hey, just talk. There's no expectation of, oh, you have to, through a post notify people of your watchers of, hey, here's what's going on with me. You can just jump in a server, any channel that you're in, and be like, hey guys, how's it going? You know, like that's not even something where on DA, if you daily were like, yo, what's up? Be like, okay, this
Mhm.
is annoying. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to, unless you like were friends with them. It's like I don't want to watch someone that just posts that as their status every day. Whereas in a Discord channel, you can just be like, hey, how's it going every day, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
just a
true.
normal thing people do.
Yeah, that is very true. Hmm. I guess that sort of speaks on the sort of the roles that two of the biggest platforms in this community fill. Um, and
Mhm.
I don't think I really got around to speaking on Discord in that 20-second episode, whatever number it was when I talked about different platforms in the community. There was a
Mhm.
lot of issues from that episode that I'm not happy with. But do you think it's better to say something or just quietly slip away?
Mhm. Okay. Hmm. I'd say personally, so like personally me, I would say it's better to at least say something since, you know, I'm the kind of person where, what do you call it? I've just because of how I am, I've had to develop like okay, if someone like has not posted something in like 6 months, like, you know, I'm not saying they're dead, but like,
Mhm.
they're off somewhere. They're like, they're not here doing a thing and
Right.
they might not get back, but it's like I don't know. It's that kind of thing of, at least being like, hey, stuff's happening. I'm gonna skedaddle because reason, or even just, hey, not feeling it anymore. That's like, again, I feel like I always, communication in my mind, there's never like a bad time to, communicate or be like, hey, here's what's what. So someone just dropping off the face of the earth, that's like, oh no, I hope they're
Mhm.
okay. That's always a, oh, I hope they're okay, and never a, oh, they're off to college. That's
Right.
nice. Or, oh, they're back from college and they're stopping. Well, that's good to know. At least it's
Right.
less uncertain in my mind.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
Yeah, definitely. There's a little bit of closure there.
right.
It's almost like the creators breaking up with the community in a way. You get a
Damn.
reason rather than just it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, yeah. Though I must say, breaking up by text, tisk tisk. I kid, I kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's kind of the only way we can do it here.
indeed. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. There's no YouTube like, hey guys, today this video gonna have to say goodbye. None of that. None of that.
Well, there could be. I'm I mean with like mine, with my podcast, I'm posting it on
Oh right,
YouTube, and
that's
so I
yeah.
feel
You
like
wouldn't be able to have a
yeah.
video medium to do
So
that.
potentially potentially that might expand into other people doing similar kinds of things.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
What I'm I mean, I think I do agree with you that I think it's better to say something. Um, Maybe even just for like a selfish reason, like that at least I know. Um,
Hmm.
but I think really what it's sort of come around to now is the fact that people care more about the creators way more of the time than just their work. And so you kind of it's nice to hear that like what's going on in people's lives, even if it is very vague and broad, not specific at all, in case
Yeah.
people don't
Yeah.
want to give identifying details about their lives. But
Yeah.
it's just nice to, like there's like not, I guess, not even quite a parasocial relationship. I feel like there is sort of a legitimate connection and maybe friendship or what have you that creators end up having with their audience.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that because of the scope of the community, since it's a bit smaller, you can have that thing where it's like, and a lot of times you have it where it's like, oh man, here's a creator that, you know, oh, it's a bunch of people that are all creators interacting with each other because, that's they care about it enough to be like, oh man, you're also a writer. That's so cool. Let's,
Hmm.
and then get talking, which I know has happened a lot. There's the time I was on DA, there was a number of people where it was like, oh man, early on when making, cringe OCs, it's like, oh man, you make cringe OCs too. Whoa. Like we should do a story collaboration or something. And now it's like, writers that are like, oh, you know, contests or stuff where it is like, interacting where, it's they have that thing of, oh, we all have this thing we like to do and it's in common. Or even if it's not people that make content, usually follower number is like small enough where you can have people where it's like, oh, here's a person that always comments on a story and there's a back and forth and hey, that's nice.
Hmm. And that's actually really, that's something I didn't think about, but I think that's just as valid, is creator to creator, sort of those sort of friendships being created. Like in our tiny little Discord that we have of some creators in the community, some writers, I if for whatever reason at some point I decided to leave the community, I can't see myself ever doing it, and I'm always planning to be very open with my partners about what I'm into, and I'm part of this community, and I produce this work. But if I
Mhm.
did ever, I can't really imagine myself not saying something to the people in the server, because they're my friend. They're some of my friends. They're legitimately people uh, that I have good relationships with. And it's I guess it's people, if I guess it sort of feels like people are more comfortable with being a little bit more open about themselves. Um, I guess sort of that we've come closer together despite being so spread apart.
Mm. Mhm. I can see that. There's definitely the, like you were saying, with the writers Discord, or even just the however many servers we have at this point, just across
Hmm.
the different pockets, you definitely have people that'll, you know, like even I'm in a server, like I'm in a few servers where it's like if I left the community, I probably wouldn't leave the servers because I'm like, hey, these are the the people I play D&D with every week, or I do tabletop. I can't just I'm not gonna leave because I'll not leave those servers because yeah, we still hang out and do stuff
Yeah.
outside of the context of community. Oh, let's do a writing thing or something.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. There's actual friendships that have expanded and evolved beyond the community of this fetish,
Mhm.
which is fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah, especially good considering the past few years and the bubonic plague we've been dealing with. Being able to have online connections is like, hey, I don't need to be afraid of hanging out with this person because it's digital. So,
Exactly. Yeah, just a little bit of water. Um,
oh yeah, yeah.
I I'm curious. Do you think what effect, if any, do you think content creators leaving has on the community?
Hmm. I I'm gonna circle back to answer that question by bringing up the Between Two Cheeks and Bloom 225, since those are the ones that at least I've seen a bunch of things where it's been, I forget how long it's been, but it feels like it's been a while since
Hmm.
both of them moved on to other stuff. But like again, you need to figure out the time. I'm blanking on it. Time is an abstract concept to me. Again, we're learning that about me. But but like anytime I hear stuff about like Bloom, it's always like, okay, phenomenal. Like, oh, here's how phenomenal the art was, and people loving it. And I don't know if I've seen anyone directly say, "Hey, Bloom has inspired me to do the the art, the writing, the drawing that I do." But
Mm.
I always see that, and that's like, okay, that's like a lasting legacy in my mind. Or like with Between Two Cheeks, I don't like, I see people talking about it, and it might have just been because of you know the nature of right before he left how stuff was, but people always seem to be talking about the negative stuff or things they did not like about what he did
Mm.
in regards to like just, and again, I don't know if it's just that kind of thing where enough people are talking about something and it's sort of just, what do you call, like, group think of, oh, here's what everyone is focused on and it perpetuates itself.
Hmm.
But like, I feel like there's definitely been a lasting impact of people bringing up both of them for different reasons, despite the fact they like work together on like what,
Yeah.
like, the one of the last things they both did was the same project, yet there's such a drastically different, like, I don't know. I just, that's one of the things that sticks out to me is in regards to what effect did those two leaving have
Hmm.
in regards to people still talking about them, or you know what goes on now in terms of people making art.
Yeah. It's. I mean, Between Two Cheeks was sort of one of the very first people to create a sort of business in this community of what they were
Mm.
doing.
Hmm.
And I mean, if we're talking about legacies that people leave behind, I mean, all you got to do is look around a little bit on like Patreon or OnlyFans or whatever. People have made all kinds of businesses basically of the fetish in this community. I mean,
Hmm.
I think I don't remember exactly the timeline of when Between Two Cheeks made their Patreon and started getting big on with that kind of thing. Um, but I mean, you had like JR as well, but that was it's much more of a sort of a traditional video production company, essentially, studio, however you'd call it. Whereas Between Two Cheeks was much more in line with way more of the creators in this community. You've had in recent times way more. people coming into the video production scene, but for the most part, it's art and writing that is sort of the bread and butter of this community.
Mm.
And they were as far as I can think, and as far as I'm aware, they were the first person to make a business essentially of
Mhm.
that sort of content, and it exploded like crazy. It went sicko mode, as the kids said a couple years ago. uh,
Mhm.
and I think with that sort of legacy is you can pretty easily see it in multiple different ways. Like Hans and Anime Panties, they had their um, I think it was called the Wedgie Writers Guild.
Mm, right,
They had
right.
their Patreon for a little bit, and there's other people on Patreon blanking on names and things, but it's sort of opened the door for so many other people to pursue a similar thing.
Mhm.
I mean, I haven't really heard much about how people talk about the actual creators themselves. So it's interesting to hear that, like, even though Between Two Cheeks and Bloom were pretty heavily they had a pretty heavily involved working relationship, like that Bloom would be making all this art for the visual novels and all that. It is very interesting to hear sort of the dichotomy of how people talk about them. And
Mhm. Yeah,
I
and
guess I'm not super aware of the things that people say Between Two Cheeks didn't do well, whatever.
mhm. Yeah, and I think in my mind the stuff I've heard about Between Two Cheeks is I I think it's that kind of thing where you have a small group of people that are vocal enough within this whole sphere of things that at least whenever I see it, I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I've heard people talking about this. You know, he's been gone for a while. How long are you going to say it? But it might just be, a few people that are just really gung ho to bring it up. But
Yeah.
I've seen it around. I'll say,
Okay.
which it's always sort of, what do you call it? It's like okay. In my mind, it's always like okay, this is kind of gossipy. When are you going to drop it?
Uh huh.
It's not the newest thing. It's not like hot topic, not hot topic. It's not like the latest tabloid.
Hmm.
It's not spicy. It's just at this point like okay, I see what you're doing there, but they don't usually have anything to back it up. Whereas
Hmm.
like you know if it's Bloom, it's like okay, you're saying someone that was here was good. Like okay, that's there's no like in my mind, there's nothing negative about praising someone even though they're gone. But if you're
Yeah.
like, oh man, this guy sucked for like reasons that are kind of flimsy about like, okay,
Mm.
you might feel that way, but like objectively, did they do anything bad? No, not
Hmm.
really. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know.
I,
I might just be that might have been a slight tangent on my part, but I've just seen
well,
that here and
that's
there, and I'm
perfectly
like,
fine.
yeah.
So I guess I'm curious then do you think there should be any kind of limit or rules around the discourse about creators who have left? Like, do you think it's okay for people to be able to voice an opinion or a thought about someone that might not necessarily be very positive?
Hmm. Uh, I would say I never want to say someone can't say something, but at times there is a kind of thing of like, okay, what's the intention of what they're saying
Okay.
is what I'm thinking. Because if they are just saying like, hey, here was this guy, he was here, man, I hated him, what an asshole, because they specifically didn't like him, is different from oh here's a person that objectively did a bad thing and we should keep it as a reminder of hey don't be like that person. Those are two different, things.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like I'm the kind of person where I'm just like, hey, let's all get along. Let's communicate. If I see people big arguing, I'm like, oh no, this is bad. Um, so I might just be like, my specific sensors might be tuned a bit differently for like, oh no, we shouldn't do this.
Mhm.
But I don't want to say like, here's what Jack says. You can't talk about him because he's been gone for this long. But I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think like, hey, you know, that I'm rambling a bit.
I mean, that's conversation. That's a podcast right there. There's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah,
guess should we maybe as a sort of broader question of the is should we consider the people who leave dead? Have they passed on?
damn,
Because
dead
it's
to dead to us.
like in life, it's sort of socially unacceptable to speak badly about people who have died. So, do you think that applies here?
Hmm. um, okay, okay. I think I definitely think there are reasons you could talk ill of someone when they're dead.
Mhm.
For like, again, it just jumps back to that. How genuine is it? But again, that's a different thing. Um, but I definitely think that, man, now you got me thinking. You got me thinking. Good,
Very
good
good.
job.
Very
Um,
good.
gotten these gears going.
I like to hear
Um,
that.
yeah, I would say I don't think there shouldn't be a rule of like, oh, it's been more than 6 months, drop it. We can never speak of this again.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be something like that. Though though I jokingly say stuff like that sometimes about like not holding something, like, oh, I left the trash out, didn't take it out. It's been 6 months, can't bring it up again. Um,
Mhm.
but in like, in less tiny things like that sense, I don't think there's like a time limit of, oh, we've not heard from this person in 6 months. May they rest in peace. Like, it's talking about it is good. I think it's sort of distilling it down to like, okay, why is something being talked about? And is that a good reason to talk about it?
Mhm.
Because like in the case of Bloom, like, hey, Bloom was a great artist, and hey, here's examples of why people think it was so great. Here's the art she made. Here's the stuff she did. Oh, that's like the reason of it is uplifting a artist that did stuff, and sort of like, hey, here's a thing that could inspire people. Like there have been times where I've seen art by artists, and I'm like, oh damn, that makes me want to write something
Mhm.
that's like inspired by that. Or that makes me, I read a story and I'm like, damn, I can visualize this of
Yeah.
like, what this picture would look like. In my mind, that's like a valid, yeah, that's worth talking about. If it's something that's like, okay, you're talking about someone and it's not oh man, they did a bad thing and we're talking about it, to be aware of it, like, oh, you know, X person, scammed someone, man, that could be worth talking about in the broad sense of watch out for people that could scam or be attentive to it. There's a
Yeah.
moral kind of thing to it of like, hey, what's the moral of the story? Boom. But if there's nothing there and it's just like, oh, we're talking about this person because, you know, oh, this person, we're just sort of vaguely talking about him or it's empty air. It's like, okay, there's not even the sense of like if you're talking about someone and it's, hey, I was friends with them and I liked what they did in the community. Like that's something. But if
Mhm.
it's here was a guy I didn't quite think like what he did and I'm not giving any takeaway from it. Like okay, then why'd you bring it up? Kind of is
Yeah.
my thinking of
Okay.
it. But I hope that's answered your question of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And it was sort of a very long-winded question. So yeah, I think that's I like that. I like that. Um I mean, a little while back there was a profile in DA. I don't know if you saw that it was claiming to be Bloom coming back. I think it was like Bloom
Mm.
2252, something like
Yeah,
that.
Bloom 2252.
Yeah, and then it was revealed to be an imposter. Yet some people
Mm.
didn't care, and they were perfectly fine with being essentially willfully ignorant. They even if it was somebody that was posing as Bloom, they
Mhm.
uh, they were happy because they could fool themselves into thinking it's the actual Bloom coming back. And
Mhm.
I I mean, number one, I think that speaks on the legacy of Bloom as a creator, that they, as soon as someone made an account saying I'm Bloom, I'm back, everybody was like, oh my god, yes, yes, yes. And then it's brought into to light that it's not the actual person, and people are
Mhm.
disappointed. But people, yet somehow, for some reason, some people still are gonna go along with it anyway.
Mhm.
So
I
I
think. Oh,
go
sorry.
go
What
ahead,
you were
go
gonna?
ahead.
Oh no, no. You had a thing you wanted to lead into with that, so I'm gonna let you do that. And I'll what I had to say probably will follow.
Okay. Um, I haven't seen too much. I haven't seen too much of this. But like, basically imposters. Uh,
Mm.
I mean,
Cool.
I guess. Do you think they're okay? um, and is it? Do you think it's okay for someone to step into the role of someone else? I guess if they are open that they're not actually the real person. It's like I remember
Mm.
like all in Lucky Fetish in the beginning of that, people would be stealing stories from the old board claiming they were theirs. Or I think
Mm.
a couple years into Lucky Fetish on DA, um the same kind of thing was happening. Somebody was claiming to be somebody was claiming to have written all these stories, but it wasn't
Mm.
actually theirs. Do you think it's okay for imposters to exist, I guess?
Okay. So first off, you are a very brave man to bring up the word imposter in our current day and age when
Oh my god.
there's many jokes that can be made.
I wasn't thinking of that. Now
Well,
you're gonna I
I
feel like nobody would have said anything, and now they will because you brought that up.
yeah,
Among
yeah,
Us, Among Us, Among Us. Oh god.
Emergos. So sorry, my friend group has given me brain rot with that.
Uh.
And but that aside, to actually answer your question instead of memeing on you, um, I would say, in when it comes to imposters, that's like there's very I can't think of really a genuine thing where okay, it's okay to have an imposter because like there's like outside of this, it's generally frowned upon. If you say, "Ah, yes, I'm Mr. X," when you're not Mr. X, because now you're tarnishing. If you do anything, that's now on him, or you know, you're falsely assuming their identity.
Yeah.
That's usually frowned upon in most, platforms.
Yeah.
Um, in in regards to like a creative, that's just sort of like if someone pretends to be someone, it's like, hey, I made this. That's like that's the meme of someone picks it up. I made this when they didn't,
Mhm.
or if they edit it. As the person that creates, I don't like the idea of someone could be like, ah, yes, I am the JackereJack. Let me make this. And I'm like, wait a minute, guys, that's not me. That's guys, no. So I think people doing that to say, hey, this is my story and writing it. Like at that point, they could have just written fan fiction and not claimed to be the actual writer, and gotten the benefit, still been able to do it. Um, in terms of like, I 100% think it's scummy if you do it and you're like, hey, I'm if they had said, hey, I'm Bloom and I'm taking commissions, that would have been
Yeah.
atrocious. That would have been
Yeah.
terrible. Um, like yeah, there's not really a time to do it when it's like it's acceptable. Like, and in that case, that I think that might have just been someone that since they didn't seem to be trying to benefit from like give me money, I'm Bloom. It could have just been someone that wanted attention, and that's a whole other thing that people have made documentaries about like the digital age and people wanting attention, and it so that's I'm not even going to touch on that, but like that could be a component of why someone would do it. But
Hmm.
in terms of like had the thought and it vanished. But yeah, the of all those things of someone trying to benefit, someone just doing it because I want some arbitrary credence of writing the story how I want it because they wrote it wrong, or just someone that wants attention and doesn't know the right way to do it. Like none of those are valid. Like there's never a valid reason to do it. And then
Yeah.
oh, I got it again. The only time it would ever be like remotely acceptable is if it was like set up in a hey, this account is run by a group, or this is like when it's a business account or something. And we don't really have business accounts here, but if someone had full disclosure saying, hey, this account is for this this brand or this thing, at that point it's like, okay, there's not going to be one person behind it, therefore as long as whoever is behind the name is a part of that group, then that's legit. But any other
Okay.
thing of saying this is me and having the imposter mask on, there's no real there's no valid reason for someone to do that, I'd say.
Hmm.
It's either them being misguided or them being malicious.
Okay. Yeah, there's I guess I feel like it's just necessary. You should just have a disclaimer. I am not the real so and so.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I think just in general it's just wrong to deceive people into thinking, especially when like someone as big as Bloom left, and then and then somebody is claiming to be them and they're back. It's you're deceiving people, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
just wrong.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to create, I mean, I can understand the mindset of wanting attention. I don't think it's something. I think it's kind of stupid to chase just attention because you really don't get any legitimate. You don't get anything legitimate out of it besides maybe some personal validation or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think
You get the dopamine rush.
if you want to create content, just start making some on your own, like, and
Mm-hmm.
build a genuine audience. That's my thought on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you pretend to be someone else and then you're creating original content, it's you're kind of living in their shadow, and in a way you're sort of you're hurting yourself. So going along with imposters essentially, how do you feel about people sharing a creator's works if they've left and deleted everything? I mean, do you think it's all right for that? For us to do that? You know, I think like Between Two Cheeks, where a whole Google Drive was created of all their work and after they'd left, and I remember seeing some conversation about the morality of it. Is does when a creator leaves, does their work sort of become public domain at that point, or are we should we still respect that it is their work and we should leave it alone even if
Mm-hmm.
there's so much love and admiration for some of the work that it's gone forever now?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I okay. This is another get the gears turning
Yes,
topic.
for sure.
Let me think. I think okay. And so when it comes to someone creating something, in my mind, they okay in terms of you know intellectual property stuff. I know very little about it, so I'm not a lawyer,
I actually
but I
do
do
know a
know there
little bit
is
of
the
that.
oh Oh
if you
man, you did your homework.
a little
Well,
to some degree, just like for my own sake as well, in
ah,
case
yeah.
somebody decided to try to steal some of my stuff.
Mm,
I guess
gotcha.
to interject for just a second, for anybody who
Yeah.
is unaware, this is how intellectual property works, especially on the internet, but in general, is as soon as you create something original, you automatically have a copyright on it.
Mm,
It's not it's not official. It's not legally enforced automatically, but you could sue somebody for infringing on your copyright. A copyright is automatically generated as
yep.
soon as you automatically have the copyright as soon as you've created something original.
Mhm. Yep, that's why the like DA they have the little thing C whatever the year was username.
Yes.
It belongs to them. Um, but yeah, I would say with the with the legal IP stuff sort of us to the side because I know like as soon as like Between Two Cheeks left, and even before that, people writing their own like, oh, here's my fan story about this,
Hmm.
which is in that it's in that what do you call it? In that gray area of there's nothing explicitly saying you cannot oh let me make fan fiction.
Right.
If so, fanfiction.com would not be able to be a thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like that kind of thing of okay, are you profiting from someone else's IP? Okay, you're not. Like from the legal standpoint, okay, you'd be able to do that. Like if Between Two Cheeks suddenly resurrected and said, "Hey everyone, stop,"
Hmm.
he would have the law behind him of hey, legally, you know, legally he'd have that precedent to do
Hmm.
that. But outside of that, of him just being like, "Hey, I'm gone, see ya," and he's not really said anything. Like if someday we start seeing Ashley and Luna in like a published thing, it's like, wait a minute, and it's like, oh shoot, Between Two Cheeks went mainstream and got himself a cartoon, you know,
Hmm.
then it's like, okay, you, so I'd say it's I've we went around with it a little bit. I slightly forgot part of the main question, but I'd say it's okay to if you're making like a fan work. Hey, I really loved Between Two Cheeks. Like I know people that write Luna and Ashley stuff because they love the character. They just have slightly different ways of what they think it should have been. So they
Hmm.
have their own take on it that they make, and they're not making money. So in my eyes, like hey, that's completely legit. That's a okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, it is a tough question to think to answer. Um, I mean, I think there is a little bit of I think there's a little bit of morality there. Is like
Hmm.
really shouldn't because it's not your work, so you don't really have the right to distribute it or share it or really. I mean, I guess for fan fiction it is gray, but you don't really have the right to sort of share it around or what have you. Um, but because people almost always end up not saying anything about whether they're all right with their work being used or shared around or whatnot. There's, I guess, if people aren't trying to make money off of it, then it might be okay to some extent,
Hmm.
especially with those pieces that people just absolutely love and they don't they it's lost forever. They don't have it anymore. I think just pulling a number out, I think it's like 99, maybe 99% of the time, people just want to have that piece of content that they just absolutely love that
Mm.
is one of their
Right.
favorites that they wouldn't have it otherwise.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That the classic. You know, nothing is what do you call it? Things on the internet are forever. except when they're not, and like a site goes down or someone just deletes an account. It's like, oh
Mm.
shoot, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
lost media in the making. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, from the going to the topic of less, hey, here's someone writing a fan fiction and using the IP, and to hey, here's straight up, here's an image someone drew, sharing that around. But yeah, I'd say that definitely is even like you were saying. That's even more of a hmm. So how should that be handled since you've got the side of it that's like more in the legal side of okay, someone else owns the copyright to this because they made it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if someone's saying, hey, please don't repost this, you know, that's something that I think copyright law might be a bit behind. That's a whole there's a lot of things we're covering that's like, man, other people have made like whole videos or whole essays about this kind of thing. But in regards to like that, it's like, okay, someone, made this, like, oh, Bloom drew this art and she's gone now. The account got deleted. There's no other way to see this than to, if someone did not save it, it'd just be gone forever,
Right.
right? Um, in those kind of situations, it is like a really like okay, super gray because you know the person's not there to say you can't share that, and you know that's sort of what copyright is of the creator's ability to say, hey, don't do that. I own it, and I want to, if I want to make money off of it, I don't want other people to be able to distribute it.
Yeah.
And there's, yeah, it's definitely one of those things of copyright was not made for the digital age in mind, and the digital age has only been going for a little bit comparatively to everything else. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially in a very niche community like this, it becomes even more gray because so many people are just sharing their stuff online for free, and there's not much monetary backing or people trying to gain money from
hmm,
it.
yeah, in in the context of someone like okay, so if someone just puts it up on, hey, here's DA, yo, here's some art I made, look at it. It's like, oh man, that's cool. Like I can see, people sharing that. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that. It's, like some people will even post their stuff like, hey, look, I made this and posted it in the Discord or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then if you have things where it's like, hey guys, here's, you know, any of the people that have a Patreon, look at this thing I made. And then someone going right around and being like, hey, let me pay money and then, distribute this. That's that's not really cash money. That's not really nice. That's like I'm pretty
Uh,
sure that's in the camp of inherently anti-creator, which you
yeah.
know, as a creator myself, I'm like, hmm, that doesn't quite seem as sustainable. Maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Since, no one in this community, like however whatever qualms people might have with like how people manage their Patreons and stuff, as long as no one's like, doing anything illegal, it's like, okay, guys, I think the creator, no one's making millions here. No one's like, there's no corporations here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it only hurts the creators, which are other people in this community. There's only so many of us. You gotta,
Yeah,
you know,
that is
you don't
true.
want to, you don't want to, you don't want to get people to be like, ah, damn, I have like, one follower that reposts everything, and I get, that's not a good, it's not a good thing to do to a creator like that.
No,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
that is definitely thievery at that point. If you're just
Hmm.
stealing somebody, if you're taking somebody's work and you're trying to make money off, that's thievery. There's no two ways about it. That's just wrong all the way. Luckily, I don't think I've really seen any of that around here in this community. For the,
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever really seen it at all. Uh,
Mhm.
So with creators leaving, do you think there's anything we can do to help increase retention or prevent people from leaving?
Yeah, I guess in my mind it's one of those things of okay. It's one of those things of what do you call it? I like this is a metaphor I just came up with, but I'm gonna roll with it because I improv. I'm a GM. This is how I do it.
A
Um,
DM?
GM, DM depends on the system.
Okay.
Fun fact. Yeah, but yeah. Um, so in my mind, it's sort of like okay, imagine we got a waterfall, right? Um, People come in and they're in the stream, right? And then it flows down. It flows downstream, right? It flows away. The it's an inevitable it is a inevitable thing that you'll have people that eventually for one reason or another eventually they're gone. Could be oh hey I you know had a free summer during sophomore semester and I wanted to write a bunch and then oh shoot turns out next year I'm dying from schoolwork and then they're gone, right? Like that's an example of a creator that goes through the river.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can really do is create that environment of hey, this is a community that values creators in both a hey, what you're making is pretty cool and a hey, you're pretty cool, of like just interacting and some people might just be like hey, I'm just here to make this and I don't want to talk to any of you. I've seen like a
Hmm.
few creators that are very this person has one comment and they've have like 20 submissions like okay, they don't want to talk to anyone. But like for the people that do, which I think is like the majority of people, because if you're insane enough to pick up something, write it down, and then throw it to the internet to judge you, you kind of want to, have a bit of back and forth, or you want people to like, ooh, what do people think of this? You know,
Right.
even if that's just part of in my mind. That's like every creator has a little bit that's like I really want to know what people think of this. That in that example, building that kind of community, you're building like a dam, or you're building something that sort of, you know, the water pools in and can circulate and stick around for a bit. Like the water's eventually going to go. It's just a matter of, how well do you retain the water, or like how big is the dam you've built up before eventually it go like, people mosey on out.
Hmm.
Like that's in my mind, that's just something every community online does. And you've got communities that are, hey, like it's like, oh, here's I don't want to. I guess I already said Among Us because like I've already dated this video. But like so think about like that kind of thing. Oh, here's Fortnite, here's Among Us or something.
Hmm.
At some point, those communities or people that make stuff for that the dam they have isn't going to be there anymore, right? Like
Right.
eventually Among Us is going to be, oh, remember that wacky game from
Oh
the years
God.
we couldn't go outside?
I hate that
Um,
word so much.
but yeah,
It's the word I hate the most is wacky. Oh God.
oh no, I'm
I
sorry.
hate that
Oh,
word so much.
I'm, oh,
Oh.
I'm sorry. This quirky. Um, this, but like,
I get what you're saying.
yeah, at some point, a community just ceases to be like one's like, the TF2 community. Those guys, I don't know what they're smoking, but they're going strong, and it's been like
Yeah.
years.
2007
Um,
is when it
damn,
started.
now you're
Yeah.
damn
Hmm.
old. Ah. but but yeah, like that for that kind of thing. Every community will have a thing where eventually it'll dwindle down and people won't care about it. There might still be one or two people that are like, damn, this is my shit. I love it, which is great. That's always amazing. That's the joy of the
Yeah.
internet. Is there's going to be something somewhere that one other person will enjoy what you put out. But like, it's all part of that making the dam and making it an environment that people want to be a part of and that they're able to be a part of
Hmm.
to get them to stick around. Because if the if like like as an example, if DeviantArt was toxic or something, or like back when I first started here, I didn't really pick up on any toxicity, so I'm like, hey, this is nice, and I stuck around. If it had
Yeah,
just been people that are like, man, these people are terrible to be around, I would not be here. I would not be on DA. I wouldn't be like in the D&D groups I'm in because half of them are, people in this community.
yeah,
It'd be completely different. Um, so yeah, just that's a rather long-winded way of saying you've got to make an environment that people want to, be a part of. And at that point, it's like self-sustaining in a way.
yeah. Definitely. I absolutely agree with that. I think it's very well said.
Hmm.
And I think the easiest way to do that is to for the people who are consuming the content, just leave a little comment, say
Mhm.
hi, be welcoming, say leave some feedback on a story or a piece of art or whatever content someone creates. Just say, if you enjoyed it, say, hey, this was really good, or and even just that little bit will encourage people to stick around and keep producing content. And beyond that, just stick around. Um, but really, if you want to do really good, you should also give constructive criticism as well.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I mean, it's fantastic to receive just any kind of comment, even if it is just like, "Hey, good job, can't wait to see what you do next." It's like, all right, come on, like, I'm here, like, okay, how do I improve? Okay, it's good, that's great, but how do I get better? That's what I wanna hear, and really, that's what I wanna hear, and I think that's the case for a lot of people as well, and, I don't think there's enough people leaving good feedback and trying to communicate.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. Tons of times where I'll see like some art that I'm like, oh man, here's someone that I follow on Discord or something, and I'm like, man, that story is great. And then I'll like go to the comments and be like, ah yes, this was seen like 3,000 times, and there's four comments. I'm looking at an actual one right now, and
Mhm.
all of the comments. There was one guy that commented, and it was just the back and forth chain between him and the writer.
Yeah.
So like that little bit of like, man, come on, 3,000 people. Just
Yeah.
be like, yo, this one part of the story, phenomenal. Here's why I liked it. Or hey, this
Mhm.
part could have done this, but great. Like stuff like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think that just that just proves what I'm saying is,
Mhm.
uh, the one person, in your whatever you're looking at, the one person who actually was engaging actively is the person that the creator is engaging with. Um, so yeah, please, people, engage more with people that you're following.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure, for sure. In fact, you right now watching this video on YouTube or whatever platform Nefertoro puts this on, if DA, whatever platform you're looking at the art on, open it. Look at your watch list. Did you leave a comment on that last thing you favorited?
Yeah.
You didn't? Well, put a comment there
Mhm.
about how good it is and what you liked about it.
Yes.
That's my challenge. That's the JackereJack challenge of the day.
I like that quite a bit. Yeah. Yes. Go do that. Go back, go through your stuff. Go through and I'm guilty of it in the past, but I'm much better about it now. And with with this podcast, I can, if I really like something or there's something I really want to talk about, I can have an episode on it and then leave a link on to it on the
Mhm.
piece of content. Say, hey, here are my thoughts. I hope you like what I said. So
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
I, I guess I'm also pushing for more people to do what I'm calling meta content. Do more
Oh,
do more do some of that, people. Do, it's fun, and it's very different than anything else in the community. People aren't
mm.
discussing things like this in this kind of format, right? Like
Ah,
audio
right. Okay.
content or
Yeah.
uh, uh, expand into YouTube. You don't have to show your face, but you can you don't have to like there's all kinds of voice changers and things on that like that with that as well.
Yep. Exactly.
You can
There's.
hide your
Yep.
voice.
There's a. Yep.
You could still be completely anonymous on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's doable indeed.
Yes, it is. And so here's another big question. Do you
Oh.
think we're a real community? People have been saying we're fragmented for a while, and that
Hmm.
says to me it's a big indicator of us not being one. But then I can think of plenty of other aspects that I think do make us an actual community.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm. I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna answer that by. It's not a bit of a counter question.
Okay.
In a way, in a way. So, trying to think. I'm blanking on which series you know off the top of my head. Okay, let's just do Star Wars, right? You know Star Wars. Everyone knows
Hmm.
Star Wars, right? Would you say is there one Star Wars community?
I honestly don't know because I'm not part of. I don't.
Fair, fair,
I'm not
valid.
active in the Star Wars thing.
Yeah, yeah, I get
I
you, I
just
get you.
enjoy it
Yep,
on my own.
right. So, so with that, I'd say similar to Star Wars because you have Star Wars of hey, like my dad, the 6 movies that came out, man, this is Star Wars. This is great. You say, hey, Dad, what about the Clone Wars? And he says, what? What's
The
that? Or hey, Dad, the new trilogy. And he's like, oh, yeah, those are the newer ones made by Disney.
ones that suck.
I've not. Yeah, it's like I've not seen those. Or like oh, I don't know. I've got the 6 ones.
Mhm.
Like in my mind, you can have, and even someone that's my dad's not really online, but people that are online for Star Wars would say, hey, here's the core movies. These are the movies are Star Wars, and people would be like, nah, man, it's the animated shows that are Star Wars. And you
Mhm.
got people that are like, actually, it's the comics that are Star Wars. And then someone would say, like Legends or canon comics, and
Yeah.
then they'd start big fighting. So in my mind, you, I'd say there's we have a community of like okay people that make this content, right? But inside that you have people that are like okay, here's a pocket that you know is like hey, the stuff JR makes with like models and stuff, that's their jam. But if you said hey, what about stories, they go who? um so in my mind it's like a similar premise where there is community, but there is not like if you use a capital C community, it's reducing it a bit and getting
Mm.
rid of that minutia of hey, here's all the people that like and mail in mail content. Some people that's not their jam, right?
Right.
Especially given the nature of this. There's just some pockets of it that people would be like, yo, man, furries, that's not my thing.
Mhm.
And, every person likes different stuff. But I'd say with that, there is community, just not capital C, which isn't a bad thing, right?
Okay.
It's in my mind is if people can find a thing they like and can gravitate towards, and hey, they love it. This server they're in, yo, it has this. It's their jam. They interact with people. At the end of the day, like people are, they get to they see the content or they interact, and at the end of it, they're like, hey, I feel like my day was better because like my week was better because I participated in this. That's a win.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
community. That's people being a part of a community.
Mhm.
So I guess that's where my thoughts are of
Okay.
yeah, which yeah. And in some ways, that might be good because, like I said, you don't want the people that absolutely hate male content to be like, hey, sit in this room, you've got to watch this, if they don't want
Right.
to. So, yeah, it's, and yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I think I think I translated thought to speech back to, your brain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. And
Mhm,
when you said pockets, that kind of made me think of the best description of this community that I've
mhm,
heard or thought of is I feel I think we are a country and all these different platforms and what have you are towns or villages or cities
mhm, mhm.
that there's some communication between them, but they're kind of, or maybe they're states. I'm not quite sure. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah,
and you
we
sort
we
of,
all speak the same language, but we have different dialects to it. We have our
yeah,
own like iconic thing about us.
hmm and yeah, we're the kind of, I, I guess what I've sort of come to understand, or the way that I've kind of sort of come to see this community is, I don't necessarily think the entirety of all wedgie fetishists online are one community. I
Mhm.
think we are sort of groups, like I think there are individual communities of fetishists online. There's a little bit of what's the phrase? Oh shit, what's it called? Where where there's a little bit of overlap,
Yeah, there's a bit of overlap. You've got
but
people that are friends of friends. It's like, man, you're in every server
yeah,
or something.
Hans, really. But yeah, but I think for the most part, people sort of stick to where they are. Uh,
Mhm.
and there are some people who have, I guess, to expand this country sort of analogy. I think there are some people who have dual citizenship, but it seems to be like for the most part, people stick to the places that they go, um, and that's that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
Um, nothing that I can think off the top of my head. I think that's covered a lot of the different sort of things about, the that sort of community of, individual groups that sort of all link up into this thing that sort of has the broad label of the community. We've
Yeah.
talked about how it's sort of different pockets leading into, why people might drop out of it after a while or mosey on out of the entire country or, analogy altogether
Hmm.
for whatever reason. So I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that like um I can't think of anything else. No.
Okay. Awesome. I'm glad we were able to be pretty comprehensive. Do you have anything
Hmm.
you'd like to promote?
Um, not really. I'm not working on a bunch of stuff specifically community related, so I've got nothing to plug. I'll try to be better at that and have something if you ever have me on here next time. Uh, but nothing to plug at the moment except
Okay.
maybe like actually hold on because I let me find this. I got a Twitter, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I can plug.
Yeah.
Um, just JackereJack or at JJackery. Let me post that in the chat with for you. Just that's the place you can find me at, and you can see me, uh, post stuff about tabletop stuff I've done or my hot takes on hey, mechs are cool. Um, just just my random stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me. And you don't need anything to
Mhm.
promote, and you can also promote other people or their works if you see something that
Mm.
you really like. So I want to just ask a quick question. Have
Mm.
you
Mhm.
changed your name from like a boss Jack to Jack?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay.
yes, I know I didn't talk to you about it, and I know I only like, as far as you know, it's just the Discord, but I specifically got Core to change the name because
Mm.
I'm like, damn, my name is just a Jacksepticeye reference, isn't it? And I'm like, yep, that I made ages ago. So I changed it. It's Jack, like, Yakety Yak.
Mhm.
It's JackereJack.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
apologies for any confusion that might cause, but
Oh,
I
that's fine.
changed it. Not again, time is but an illusion. I changed it not too long ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did the same thing to just make my name on Lucky Fetish and DeviantArt the same.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's damn when you that moment when you care just enough about branding where it's like, damn, I should change this.
yeah, well, I probably wouldn't have done it, but it worked out well enough that I ended up having enough points to be able to pay for a month
Oh,
without having to spend
nice,
anything. So worked out.
nice,
Um,
nice.
but all right,
Yeah,
yeah, very nice.
yep. There's just that I guess you can put in like the doobly doo or the description on YouTube or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
So yeah, you listening right now, check it out. I sometimes retweet, uh, hacker witches and stuff that are like, "Hey, this is a cool character." So yeah, you will not regret it much. I hope.
You should be confident in yourself. You should be confident when you produce. You should guarantee you won't be disappointed.
I guarantee you will not be disappointed the majority of the time.
It's better, but not quite that. What we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there.
Well, there you have it. There ends the sequel discussion with the newly christened, as I found out, this podcast, Jack. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yep, I was happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So I'll definitely look to get you on again.
Hmm.
So, if there are any topics, stories, ideas, etc., that you'd like to hear me discuss, or if you'd like to come on for an episode, as so many other creators have now, leave a comment or send me a message on DeviantArt or Lucky Fetish as New Fatora. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Best Book Club.